2 years, and then we ended up staying for much longer.
Hmm.
So here we are.
What part of the states did you originally move to?
I have landed in Virginia originally, and lived here for a bit, then a bit in Maryland, then back to Virginia. Went to undergrad in Maryland, graduate school in Pittsburgh,
So you've been
Pennsylvania.
hanging out
So
around the Northeast, New England.
yeah, stick around here. Yeah, exactly. So this kind of Washington D.C. area is really my home.
Hmm.
So it's kind of, I don't know. It's a good balance. It's a good balanced place to be, I would say, in general.
Yeah, especially if you like to like protest. It's like the best place to hang out.
Yeah, protests are good. It's certainly a very vibrant area for sure. It's can grind your gears if you're heading to DC to a museum and then streets are closed because of a run or a marathon or a protest or something else.
Hmm.
But it also represents it's a great place to be because America comes to you versus you go to America.
Hmm.
So especially summertime, from spring till early fall, you could see people from all walks of life coming to DC to visit. And even just if you sit on the bench in the National Mall and just see the breadth of America
Hmm.
as it exists, they come to visit the museums. And in America, everybody visits museums. It's just what you do. It's not even like
Oh yeah, museums are awesome in the U.S.
yeah, museums are great, but it's also there's no this attachment of kind of elitism because museums are free. It's in
Hmm.
US, and it's like everybody feels the need to. If you go to DC, you have to go to museums. So if you can observe the people who go, you can kind of glean a lot about America,
Hmm.
what people do, what they do, how they act, what they say, what they not say, how they talk with their kids, how they talk with each other. Obviously, can't read a whole lot into this, but it's still fun. It's
Hmm.
still fun to see, to observe
Yeah,
from a human perspective.
I was in DC for a few days a couple of years ago. I was visiting a friend who's going to George Washington University. Got to visit the Smithsonian. The Smithsonian, like one thing that's awesome about the Smithsonian is like everything that they have on display, they also have up online for like virtual tour for anybody to go on for free. They give access to like all of the libraries and like every single thing and I think they've also I don't know if it was recent or if it's always been this way, but like they give like free access, common use to anybody for whatever purpose, to like create new music, to sample art, anything in like and that's awesome. That's what like educating everybody is supposed to be about.
Yeah, it's true. I was at Smithsonian National Gallery of Art, I believe, like one of the buildings, just 2 3 weeks ago.
Hmm.
It can be overwhelming, and you're right. They actually now have an ability for you to have a map, like a Google Maps, where you
Mhm.
walk in. It maps the location of where you are, and you can locate where you are, and then you can also learn about specific artworks, right? As you kind of go through and you learn about it. It's really it's fun. I'm really happy to see this kind of interchange between the new tech and the art from from 13th, 14th centuries, 15th centuries, you name it, right? And then you
Mhm.
can kind of enjoy it, you can absorb it, you can see it. And I think the fact that they made it digital, it's interesting. Experiencing it, like, it detracts, it takes away from the attention of
Mhm.
of your experience, because it's using a phone. It certainly takes away from experience being there. But at the same time, the trade-off here is that you actually get to learn and understand the meaning of the presentation,
Yeah, you don't have to
which
just
you
look at
normally not
the
get from a
tiny
guide.
card.
Yeah, right. The card is not enough. It tells you the context, maybe cultural relevance. I remember seeing one of the portraits. I forgot the name of the queen, English queen, and there was like a picture of a monkey, like on her shoulder, and it explains, well, why is monkey there? It says, like, well, normal during 17th century, it said that monkeys represent that the person being shown in the portrait is like a fool, in essence. But in case of her, English queen, it was a representation of these exotic animals and this kind of wealth, and a way to show off that you're different than others, right? So without understanding, you just like, oh, there's a monkey, okay, weird. But now you understand the cultural significance of the monkey, kind of as a little pet monkey next to a child, next to the queen. It's really interesting to see
About
that kind of education.
this one.
there's no way you're gonna find it.
Oh, damn it.
So that's a good example, right? So that's a good example of another queen. I
Yeah, I don't know if I'll probably not be able to find it on time.
It's a bit of a bit of an enigma.
Yeah, there are some like professions in the US that I really that are doing what they're supposed to do, and like with the passion that you would kind of hope for. Like museum curators in national museums, a lot of like park rangers, like they genuinely care about everything that's going on in the forest. Librarians, like they know like what resources you can get wherever, what books to get, what you can use for book reports and stuff. And like I'm glad that none of these are ever part of like the chopping block. I mean, you know, in some cases there are, but you know, they aren't controversial in the same way that like public educators and you know, unions and stuff are oftentimes like brought up as like boogeymen for socialism or whatever.
Yeah, it's obviously underappreciated part, I think, of America of how much goodness the government actually does for public good. And you know, being an immigrant, it's really interesting how I often have these conversations with my wife. It feels that in America, you know, this American dream.
Is your wife from the U.S.?
Yes, she's from U.S.
Uh-huh.
And you know, my perspective as an immigrant, even though I've been here for a long time, is that with all this access that we have, like you mentioned, to the museums, to the libraries, to everything, it does require energy and it does require some resources, but in general, like accessibility is there to nature, to like you mentioned, to like fantastic parks, to like reserve a cabin, like was a bunch of guys would go to national park, and I think it cost $50, maybe it's $40, maybe even $35 to reserve a cabin for 4 people. And so the entrance is free. You get the cabin for $35 or so, and you can enjoy a national park, right? Like somewhere not too far. And same goes for libraries. I mean, I remember being a kid, being amazed coming into US and seeing just the richness of museums all available for free. Like the Museum of National History, just the stuff, even like being a kid then, I didn't know like a computer. I could go in and just like have my fingers go on the keyboard. I know it sounds so trivial now, but at the time it was like,
I remember like wanted to go to the library to just like play on the computer as much as I could.
Exactly.
I got my Yu-Gi-Oh cards stolen at one of the tables.
Well, right. So like this same here, right? So like even computers, that's a very good point. The libraries were the first place where if you could not own the computer, you can go at least try and learn them on. Try to do things on it. I mean, and of course, even back then they would have like a telnet and they would block things off. But at that time, security systems were not all that fantastic. So if you kind of know
if you learned enough with the computer for free, then you could do whatever you want.
Well, you know what I would normally do, kind of geeking out a little bit, I would find a library catalog computer, and mind you, this was back in the day, it was the green screens kind of thing, so it's like really old. And then I would you know, navigate the menus, and eventually like you get to the menu where it'd be something like not library related, and you continue exploring different like, and then you know, you looked up a little bit like other websites, or even using different other protocols like FTP protocols, and one thing leads to another, and then you could be in a chat room somewhere, you could be doing a Google search, well, there was no Google at the time, but you could do like web searches, and it was all text based, it was very budget, right? But it was sufficient. Plus you get to experiment with just like try new things, right? And it was libraries that made it available. The libraries made it possible.
Yeah, I remember one of the things that like me, my siblings, my brother especially liked to do was just like go to the library and just like print out like Google search or Yahoo search pictures, and just like print out the pictures to like put in their binders as like a decoration. Or my brother liked to draw, I like to draw too, and just like use it as like reference for art practice. And it's awesome.
Yeah, so bottom line, I think the resources we have available in US, and like you said, they're now becoming more and more available online for anybody and everybody to use, is that kind of with the right direction encouragement, I think the opportunity, call it the American dream or whatever you want to call it, I think just being a good I don't know, good society is the openness of information we have
Mhm.
versus censorship resistance is I think is amazing.
Yeah, I definitely think it is like core to being an ethical society, being like willing to share information to like people regardless of where your economic standing is.
Yeah, and this is why like these kind of we hear conversations about these now prohibited book lists and certain states trying to block off.
Why is that happening now? I'm so like not plugged into American politics anymore.